They took him off. And they took him off because the owner said take him off. I don't want that guy. Shedeur Sanders just torpedoed himself.
Hey, Ray Dunn. Marty Daniels, Blue Mountain State. Nice to meet you.
I know you are. I suck, man. Y'all are 9-3 last year. Don't even get me started talking about that Cypress Bowl. Now, I'm here to know what is it that you have for me.
So it's been almost a week since the first round of the NFL draft went down, and Shedeur Sanders, who originally was thought to be a top 3 pick, then a top 5 pick, then a top 10 pick, slid all the way out of the first day of the NFL draft and then the second day of the NFL draft. This obviously caused a stir of reactions in the football world, with Mel Kiper losing his freaking mind.
Dan Marino passed over for Cal Davis. Joe Montana went in the 3rd round. Kurt Warner, undrafted free agent. Matt Ryan. Jake Long went ahead of Matt Ryan. I think it's disgusting. I don't understand what the heck's going on with this. 5th player on my board, other quarterbacks being taken who aren't as good as Shedeur. Outside of not being have the rocket arm and the 4.6 speed and a big frame, what is he lacking?
And this entire situation was so bizarre. I mean, Shedeur Sanders clearly went into the NFL draft thinking that he was going to be a top 10 pick. The Sanders family even created his own draft room and live streamed the entire event. And that situation not only shot Shedeur Sanders in the foot because he was embarrassed because he waited 5 rounds to hear his name called, but at the same time, you kind of got an insight into how the Sanders family was handling his slide. Originally starting with the Cleveland Browns trading back from number 2 to number 5, and then passing on Shedeur at number 5, which resulted in Deion Sanders saying this about Joe Flacco. But when Shedeur was passed with the 9th overall pick, you started to see Deion Sanders sweat a little bit.
Kelvin Banks Jr., tackle, Texas.
At the same time, Shedeur's brother Shiloh predicted that something was going on if Shedeur wasn't selected in the top 10.
If they don't take you right now, it's something going on, bro. All right? If they don't take him right now, it's something going on. I don't know what's going on, but it's something.
And after day 1, Shedeur gave us a pretty interesting statement.
We all didn't expect this, of course, but I feel like with God, anything possible. All this is, of course, fuel to the fire, and under no circumstance, we all know this shouldn't happen.
Now, the immediate reaction to this was mixed. On one hand, a lot of people in the NFL community were dancing on Shedeur Sanders' draft stock's grave, primarily because of his father talking so much trash about how good Shedeur was in the past. Most famously, this tweet where Deion says he will be a top 5 pick. Where's your son going? Would get community noted, saying Shedeur was not a top 5 pick. And then at the same time, 1 year ago, Deion Sanders said that Shedeur may pull an Eli and refuse specific teams.
Where do you predict Shedeur and Travis going in the draft?
Top 4.
Ooh, that's pretty beautiful.
Anywhere from 1 through 4. One of them is going to be
speak it into existence.
And the latter one would not go behind 4. I know where I want them to go. So there's certain cities that ain't gonna happen.
Okay, you on point.
It's gonna be it's gonna be an Eli.
And on one hand, this was surprising because Shedeur was clearly a first-round talent, but at the same time, when you do some digging into previous interviews that Shedeur Sanders gave that were made available to the public, it seems pretty clear why he fell.
If you ain't trying to change the franchise or the culture, don't give me. You should know history repeats itself over and over and over, and I've done it over and over and over, so it should be no question why an NFL franchise should pick me. You think I'm worried about what critics say or what people gotta say? You know who my dad is? They hated on him too. So it's like, it's almost normal. Without people hating, it's not normal for us.
Eventually, the Saints would take Tyler Shaw over Shedeur Sanders, which prompted an interesting reaction from his dad.
New Orleans Saints select Tyler Shaw, quarterback.
Switch it up. Wow.
And probably the craziest part of all, Shedeur Sanders would get prank called on his draft stream.
Mickey Loomis here, GM of the Saints.
How you doing?
Good, how are you, man?
Good, been waiting on you.
Yeah, we have. It's been a long wait, man.
No, for sure.
We're gonna take you with our next pick right here, man.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Let's be legendary.
But you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer, man.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
If you just take a look at other clips from Shedeur Sanders' college football career, it seems pretty obvious why he fell. I mean, there's this clip of him throwing his offensive line under the bus.
I mean, how many times did Raul get touched? How many times did Raul get touched? They was able, like, of course, whenever you're able to run the ball consistently and whenever you're able to, then that opens up the pass, you know? but it's just like you got to understand like what your team good at.
And multiple sources mentioning how terrible Shedeur Sanders' pre-draft interviews were.
Surprised it wasn't being talked about. That Shedeur Sanders, I told you, if you've been following the show from the beginning, I told you there were 2 personnel people that I spoke to who were in the room during interviews, which means they're key parts of the organization. Let's leave it at that. 2 teams drafting in the top 10 with quarterback needs where the interviews did not go well. Not disrespectful, nothing harsh. Just felt like the phrase I've been using, and I think it aptly describes it. We didn't get the sense that Shedeur cared all that much about what we thought of him.
And this isn't the only individual that thinks this way. Brady Quinn, a former Browns quarterback, would echo this sentiment.
From the guys I talked to that are either a part of an NFL team or in the front office, the interview process was an absolute disaster.
But there were also other theories at play. Some fans are speculating that this was all collusion by the NFL to deliver a message to Coach Prime. Other fans speculated that this was an act of racism.
They hate to see confident. When you black and you confident, you know where you come from, you know who you are, you know what you can do. And you don't need nobody to pat you on the back to give you the confidence. They hate it. They hate it.
But I think that take is so lazy when you consider that this was the #1 overall pick in the NFL draft.
You a completion percentage award, and all you did was throw check downs and bubble screens. If I did that, my completion percentage would be 90. I throw the ball downfield, you don't.
You ran the ball. You had a run game. You had a run game.
You had a run game. And you did it? No. You was told that thing first.
Think about total rushing yards.
No, man. That ain't my fault. I hope you're not getting no water. We just had the first drill. Oh, that's how you feel? We get water. We ain't even done with the first drill.
Let's go.
That's how it is in Colorado, though.
I'm generation. So I guess it's article versus article.
I like that you think that, man. But we all know the truth.
What? Trap gonna be first?
On perfect time already.
Come on, bro. Let's make a song. Let's drop one. Real shit. I play football. Here we go.
Yeah, football.
I play football. You ain't got no hobbies outside of that? I play football. That's the only thing I want people to know me as, football players. When they search up Cam Wood, we say American football.
And then it's not like there weren't other black QBs that were taken over Shedeur Sanders. I mean, Jalen Milroe was selected before Shedeur Sanders. And more clips are surfacing of Shedeur Sanders' teammates from college just not liking him. Most famously, this clip of when Shedeur Sanders was at Jackson State.
Legendary right here. Yeah, I mean, freshman of the year, player of the year, you know, like 29 touchdowns, like 4 or 5 some interceptions, like Tom Brady like numbers, like legendary, you know, like yeah, you know what I mean? He said the way he put his socks on, tie his cleats up, way he walked, way he talked.
Now, Boomer Esiason states that NFL owners actually told general managers to take Shedeur Sanders off of their draft boards.
They took him off. And they took him off because the owner said, take him off. I don't want that guy. Shedeur Sanders just torpedoed himself. His attitude off the field at the combine, his dad didn't help him either. You know, he was on podcast talking about, this is my son. If I can get him to where I want to get him to, I'm going to do that. When you listen to this kid talk right prior or at the combine about if you want a new culture in your locker room, I'm the guy to do that. I can turn it around. He's very high on himself.
And Colin Cowherd even stated the main reason why Shedeur Sanders fell in the draft.
These are huge factors. When you go to these combine meetings, teams give you things to challenge you. Teams will have a player's worst plays ready for him, and they'll show him his worst plays and say, hey, why don't you explain them? And Shedeur apparently didn't take to it well. And at one point, one of the few teams that actually was interested in him said, well, what do you make of this really bad play? And Shedeur said, you know, maybe I'm not the guy for you. That's not the answer.
It's really funny because about 3 months ago, Colin Cowherd had this bizarre trade idea. The Steelers trade TJ Watt, George Pickens, and 2 first-round picks to the Titans for the #1 overall pick and the right to select Shedeur Sanders. And the Steelers passed on Shedeur Sanders multiple times, which in my opinion was a terrible decision because I think it would have benefited Shedeur Sanders to sit behind Aaron Rodgers when Aaron Rodgers does decide to sign with the Steelers and maybe learn a little bit from him before Rodgers passes on the torch to Shedeur Shedeur, but there's additional information coming out that Shedeur Sanders actually sandbagged some of his interviews. At some of the combine meetings with certain teams that maybe Shedeur didn't really want to go to, I was told that he more or less sandbagged in those interviews. I don't know if he didn't take them seriously, what it was, but he did not give it his all in some of these interviews, and this rubbed some teams the wrong way. And when you take a look at what Coach Prime said, it's very clear where he wanted Shedeur Sanders to go to.
It's gonna be exciting. I can't wait. Anybody from no, because if I say that, it's gonna go viral. I can't. Cleveland? Lord, thank you. What'd you say? Cleveland. Praying for the Giants, right? Yes, we are. It's gonna be interesting, though.
He wanted Shedeur to go to the New York Giants, but apparently the Giants weren't impressed with Shedeur Sanders' interview to take him with the number 3 overall pick, let alone with the number 26 pick. Ultimately, the Cleveland Browns would trade up and select Shedeur Sanders with a 5th round pick, which is an incredible value for Shedeur Sanders because at this point, he's a very low risk, high reward type player, but he also lost out on almost $50 million as a result of sandbagging his interviews. And the reaction that Shedeur Sanders had after getting drafted in the 5th round is absolutely insane. And maybe I'm just coming off as a hater, but you would think that this would be a reality check for him, but it really wasn't a reality check at all. Shedeur Sanders would then go and party with $1 million in Louis Vuitton cases after the NFL draft. So he would throw this crazy, lavish, wild party after falling all the way to the 5th round. Now, Deion Sanders Jr. would actually correct this by saying, let's tell the story correct. It was actually a gift he received and it was $1 million. And I'm not saying that he can't celebrate the fact that he got drafted. When you just compare Shedeur Sanders to Cam Ward, you can see why the Titans selected Cam Ward with the number 1 pick and why so many teams passed on Shedeur Sanders. You would think this would be some sort of wake-up call and a reality check to him, but this is very much giving Johnny Manziel type energy. Shedeur Sanders would have this crazy, wild, lavish party, which I guess makes sense. He's very well known on social media. He's a superstar. He got drafted. If he wants to celebrate the fact that he got drafted, great. But when you compare his situation to Cam Ward, I mean, Cam Ward literally said he's going to go to sleep and get to work for the Tennessee Titans, whereas Shedeur Sanders is out here partying when his NFL career is in danger. And it's just so wild at this point because currently when you take a look at the Cleveland Browns depth chart, yeah, Deshaun Watson is out for this season with a torn Achilles. Then you have Joe Flacco, who's pretty old, and with all due respect to Flacco, we already know what to expect from him. He's going to play well for a few weeks. Then he's going to have one game where he throws like 1 touchdown to 4 interceptions and gets benched. You have Kenny Pickett, who's been a journeyman QB, but was really good as a backup for the Philadelphia Eagles last year. Then you have the quarterback that the Browns selected over Shedeur in Dillon Gabriel. And then you have Shedeur Sanders at 5th. You have to bear in mind that Deshaun Watson is probably going to be placed on IR, so he's not going to be on the active roster this year. So you could expect the Browns to roster 3 quarterbacks, and that's being aggressive. So out of Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dillon Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders, only 2 to 3 of those quarterbacks are going to make the final roster. And the situation is so severe and so crazy that the Toronto Argonauts have added Shedeur Sanders to their negotiation list, meaning that if he doesn't make the Browns roster or decides to play in the CFL, Toronto will have exclusive rights to sign him. And it's just such a bizarre situation. I mean, the last player that I believe had all the talent in the world and shot himself in the foot and ruined his own career was Antonio Brown. But at least Antonio Brown made about $100 million throughout his career before he did all that crazy stuff. I mean, the man had a Super Bowl before he was acting out the way he did. And he was towards the tail end of his career, even though you could make an argument that AB definitely had 3 to 4 years left in the tank. But in the case of Shedeur Sanders, I don't think I've ever seen a player that was a top 5 or a top 10 pick who had so many character concerns, who's so out of touch with his draft stock and his perception of him, fall all the way to the 5th round pick, then go out and start partying and not realizing that he's very close to being out of the NFL before his career even starts. And the craziest part is he's a talented quarterback. It's just teams don't think his personality is worth his talent. And that makes a lot of sense. That's very reasonable. For those of you guys saying that I'm just a hater, believe me, I really want him to succeed. succeed. But this situation is like Johnny Manziel with an extra layer of delusion. And I was hoping that his fall to the 5th round would humble him a little bit, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. Now, Shedeur would do some pretty good press following this. I mean, he would go to John Marshall High School and he would give this speech.
I just wanted to come out and see y'all. We working out every day. We got a purpose. We got something we trying to accomplish and achieve. But I'm trying to bring Cleveland, of course, a Super Bowl. What inspires me to keep going, I would say, knowing I got a lot of people watching me, knowing that I'm a positive influence to the youth.
And then there'd be a video that would be posted online of him doing lunges atop a very steep hill in Cleveland after the NFL draft. I guess this is supposed to convey his work ethic. I mean, we could sit here and speculate about Shedeur Sanders all we want, but at the end of the day, this is a situation that we're not really going to get an answer to until the NFL season is underway. And he is in a situation where he will get an opportunity to play, but I think a lot of it depends on his demeanor and the way he carries himself in the locker room. But the story gets way more interesting here. I'm sure you guys remember when Shedeur Sanders decided to live stream his draft party, there was a point where he got prank called.
Mickey Loomis here, GM of the Saints.
How you doing?
Good, how are you, man?
Good, been waiting on you.
Yeah, we have. It's been a long wait, man.
No, for sure.
We're gonna take you with our next pick right here, man.
Yeah, yes, sir. Let's be legendary.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer, man.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah, but you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer, man. Sorry about that.
You know what's wild about this? Shedeur Sanders wasn't the only individual that got prank called. The number 5 overall pick in the NFL draft, Mason Graham, also got prank called.
Hey, this is Kevin Stefanski with the Cleveland Browns. You want to be a Brown, buddy?
Yes, sir.
All right, bring it. Dumb. No chance, bro. Go. You wish. Clown. You're a clown. You're actually a clown.
Ironically, Mason Graham would end up getting selected by the Cleveland Browns, but Adam Schefter also tweeted out that the pranks keep coming. It turns out that Abdul Carter also got a prank call during the 2nd pick, in which the caller said he was from the Jaguars and they were going to select him with the number 2 overall pick. It's unfortunate that these private numbers are getting to the people making the calls, said Carter's agent Drew Rosenhaus. Abdul and I knew it was BS and didn't even tell his family about the call. Moments later, Carter got the real call from the Giants, the team that selected him 3rd overall. But in Shedeur Sanders' case, I guess it's way more publicized, primarily because of his following and because he live streamed the entire NFL draft even as he was falling. And in Shedeur Sanders' case, they actually found out who did it. And it's kind of interesting. The NFL conducted an investigation into how Shedeur Sanders' private NFL-only phone number was leaked and used for a prank call during the draft. Eventually, we found out that it was the son of the Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator Jeff Olrich who somehow got the number and made the prank call. So as a result, the NFL fined the Falcons $250,000 and Jeff Olrich $100,000 for failing to prevent the disclosure of confidential information distributed to the team in advance of the NFL draft. This stems to the Shedeur Sanders prank call. This is a significant chunk of change when you're a defensive coordinator in the NFL. Jeff Olrich makes $1.6 million a year, and losing $100,000 of that is fairly significant. I mean, it's way more than you see players typically getting fined as well, so it's a pretty steep punishment for a defensive coordinator. On top of that, the Atlanta Falcons released this statement. Earlier in the week, Jax Olrich, the 21-year-old son of defensive coordinator Jeff Olrich, unintentionally came across the draft contact phone number for Shedeur Sanders off of an open iPad while visiting his parents' home and wrote the number down to later conduct a prank call. Jeff Olrich was unaware of the data exposure or any facets of the prank and was made aware of the above only after the fact. The Atlanta Falcons do not condone this behavior and send our sincere apologies to Shedeur Sanders and his family, who have been in contact with to apologize to, as well as facilitate an apology directly from Jax to the Sanders family. We have also been in contact with the NFL and will continue to cooperate fully with any inquiries we may receive from the NFL League office. We are thoroughly reviewing all protocols and updating if necessary to help prevent an incident like this from happening again. So it's truly bizarre. They actually found the person that prank called Shedeur Sanders. We also got some additional footage of Shedeur Sanders waiting to hear his name called, and when the Cleveland Browns traded up for him, this was his reaction.
I'm telling you now, if Cleveland don't give me right here, because this is sick, bro. Hey, this is rigged. If they don't give me right here, it's rigged, bro. They're in the draft room? Alright. Hey, you heard what they said, Boogie? She said Cleveland. She said, this the last player on Cleveland board that they finna get, then they're gonna try to trade it back into the fifth. No, back into the fourth.
Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about all this, man? Aside from that, I don't know if you guys heard, but Bill Belichick is going viral for the wrong reasons. UNC's very concerned about his relationship with Jordan Hudson. I'm gonna leave a link to that video in the end screen. I'll meet you guys there. I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.